All right, thank you all for coming here today and being here for this presentation. I want to share a little story with you about a renewable resource in the rainforest that is, its increased demand is helping to make the rainforest too valuable to cut down. So, how many of you, I'm going to ask a little crowd participation here, how many of you know what this word, show of hands, know what this word means? I only see a couple, maybe a little more. And of those that know, how many knew what it was 10 years ago? Maybe two. And for the brave ones, not you, Douglas, who knows how to pronounce it? Anyone? Close. Acai. Acai. I'm going to show you a quick little video now to give you a little taste. The video. This is acai. Of the 200 fruits found in the Amazon, it's the most powerful. All right, so as you saw, acai, it's a fruit. It grows actually along the banks of the Amazon rainforest. It grows in mass abundance, and it grows atop the palm trees. It's a purple berry. The locals have been climbing the trees for centuries to harvest this fruit. It's a dietary staple in the Amazon. It's harvested into baskets and then taken to market where it's sold. And people eat it on fish. They eat it with manioc flour. It's something that everybody eats. They love it. It's adored in the Amazon. Now, in the mid-90s, athletes in Rio brought it down and started mixing it and making a smoothie with it. And it's an energetic smoothie. It's dark purple. They top it with granola and bananas. Really delicious. And it went from being this Amazon staple to this sexy Rio beach culture food that anyone that went to Brazil would come back saying, "Oh, I love this stuff." So it happened. My brother and best friend Ed Nichols had a chance to go to Rio, and this was to celebrate the new millennium in the year 2000, 99 going into 2000. And they had a bowl of acai, and they were amazed. They looked at each other like, "Wow, what is this stuff? How do we, find this along our trip more?" And as they cruised up the coast to other cities, everywhere they went, it was their obsession. Where are we going to find this acai? Their trip ended on a beautiful island off the coast of Brazil called Fernando de Noronha. And Noronha is known for its amazing waves, good diving, and it happens to have one little acai bar. And they were elated to find that place and eat it every day. And it was on the last night of their trip. They had just had their last acai, and they were thinking to themselves, it's time to go home, and this is horrible. We're not going to be able to get acai. But then a little light bulb went over their heads and said, wait a minute, if they can get it to this little island off the coast of Brazil, we could figure out a way to get it to California. So maybe we can go home and start a little acai bar just like this in California. So they came back to the U.S., and they were all excited about this idea. And, you get back to real life, and all the pressures come. And 2 months later, my brother calls me up and says, and I was working at the time as a financial planner. 5 years into my career, I was doing good, happy, making good money. And he says, we're going to do this. We're going to start this company. Do you want to join us? And my response was, sounds cool, but I don't think you guys can afford me because this is a crazy idea you guys have, importing exotic fruit from Brazil. It goes bad within 36 hours from the time it's picked. It's got to be frozen. So I said, good luck. I hope you guys do the best. Hope the best to you. And so they went to the Amazon to find a supplier. And they had borrowed some money from a family friend, flew down there, and 2 weeks later, they came back. And I picked them up from the airport, and they had that look in their eye like, we've got it all figured out. We're going to do this. They had had a chance. Some amazing things happened to them down there. They had a chance to go to the federal university, where a scientist told them that acai has more antioxidants than blueberries and red wine, and that it has the omega fats like you find in olive oil. So the health properties were outstanding. They also had learned that as the increased demand had come down to Rio and some of the other cities, the price of the acai had gone up, and the farmers and the people that live in the forest, who at one point were making less than 25 cents a tree, were starting to make more money. This was a very interesting idea that as the price of the fruit was going up, it was helping to make the forest more valuable, standing. And the third thing that happened is that they had found a supplier, one of the only factories in the area that was doing first world production, stainless steel, beautiful factory, pasteurizing, and this factory somehow believed these two gringos that they were going to make this happen, that didn't have any money to put down, but said they were going to make it happen. And they signed an exclusive contract with them. And at that point, they asked me again, are you in? Are you going to help us do this? And I said to myself, let me think about this. And I thought, and the idea that this was not just an opportunity to help the rainforest, and help the people that are going to consume this be healthier. But in my mind, I started thinking, wow, if this works, this is an opportunity to really make positive change in the world. And at that point, I decided to quit my job, and we started the company that we call Sambazon. And Sambazon is actually an acronym for Sustainable Management of the Brazilian Amazon. And we chose an Indian warrior as the protector of the forest as our icon. So here's a shot of us all bright-eyed, our first event. My brother Ryan in the middle and Ed on the other side. And we were ready to sample to the world this acai and tell the story of this healthy rainforest fruit. Our first idea was we're going to go to the big chains, the Jamba Juices, and the chains that have 1,000 stores in the U.S., and we're going to say to them, here you go, we've got the healthiest, best thing that you guys have ever seen. It's good for the rainforest, it tastes good. And they would say, how much can you get? We want it all. And we would be in good shape. Well, that's not the response we got. What we found is the big guys, they look at you and say, nobody knows what this is. It sounds great and all, but when our customers start asking for it, we'll give you a call. And so we said, okay, I guess we're going to do this the hard way. We had bought about $50,000 worth of these little frozen packs and shipped them frozen to the U.S. And basically, we knew what we had to do. We got in our cars every day, put little coolers in our cars, and drove up and down the coast to all the juice bars that we could find and tried to talk to the owners or the managers and convince them, hey, this is the next big thing. You guys need to put this on the menu. We'll come in, we'll sample. We threw up little menu boards on their windows, and everywhere they'd let us put something. Some of the places you'd walk in and you'd think it was like a Sambazon cafe because we put so much stuff on the wall. And we came in and we gave away samples to their best customers every weekend. And we did that for a whole summer. And by the end of the first summer, we had over 200 accounts in Southern California, and they were all starting to sell. We would set up little booths at music festivals, and that was a good place we found where people were a little more conscious and open to the idea. And pretty soon it really started to work. So we went to our first trade show, and everything seemed like it was going right. We had cute girls giving out samples. We had the Brazilian music. The vibe was right. We were feeling really good about ourselves, and the Whole Foods buyers were coming up saying, this is great, how do I get my hands on this stuff? And our neighbor comes up and says, hey guys, I love what you're doing, I think it's cool, but what's the deal? You guys are serving up non-organic bananas on top of your acai, what's the deal with that? And we all kind of looked at each other like, wow, this guy's right. we do have conventional bananas, and that's not really right for an organic food show. So we went back home after the show, and we were talking about it, and we said, we really got to figure out our ethos here. I mean, we have organic acai, and that's great, but what's our company really stand for? And we had heard about this concept that was kind of born in the late 90s called the triple bottom line. The triple bottom line was coined by a guy named John Elkington, and basically it says business is not just about economic success, but environmental and social success as well. We thought to ourselves, you know what, this is in our mind how we should be, and this is the future of business. You can't just turn your back when you're making profit on what you're doing to the environment and what you're doing to the people in your supply chain and society as a whole. So at that point, we decided this is the kind of business we're going to be, and we moved forward from there. Our next thing was we started bottling our acai into smoothies, and that allowed us to expand much quicker because the little frozen packs were great, but really hard for people to understand and work with in America. You got to give them something they can just grab and drink. So we started making these bottled smoothies, and that opened us up to thousands of health food stores in the US, and things really started to get a buzz. Acai started to become the fashion. We had the Brazilian supermodels looking for it when they went to Coachella. We had athletes, like world-class athletes, skateboarders drinking it on camera. We had hotel heiresses dressed up in little bunny suits showing up at our Sundance booth looking for it. This is a funny shot. Samuel L. Jackson, I heard him say something to the effect of, "That is a tasty smoothie." And then here's one of my favorite shots. You've got Richard Branson and Daryl Hannah pedaling a bike blender to get their acai smoothie. So it became fashion. Sales were going really good. We were doing well enough that we got to the point where we needed to build our own acai factory in the Amazon. That was 2006, complete with a dock where you saw it in the video. The boats actually arrive and deliver the berries. So everything seemed to be going good. I mean, there was challenges, but everything was going pretty well. But we had one major problem. We were losing money. So we brought in a bunch of consultants to help us figure out what was going on. And they came back to us, and the first thing they said was, "How committed are you guys to this whole organic thing? Because we know you sell organic acai, but now that the majority of your business is becoming these bottled juices and smoothies, they have all these other ingredients, apple juice, strawberries, blueberries, bananas, and those things, organic, are a lot more expensive than they would be." Sorry about that. A lot more expensive than they would be if they weren't organic. And we said, well, we're very committed. They said, well, let us show you some data. The data basically says the customer that shops for your smoothies, they don't care whether it's all natural, which you can do with those non-organic ingredients, or if it's organic. So it really doesn't matter. So we said, okay, that's great. If we were a normal business, that would be fine, but we have this ethos. We're a triple bottom line business. We want to be able to offer an organic product on the shelf. We want to be able to sell organic. We said, let's find another way. There's another way to do this for sure. So we looked at it. We decided, okay, let's reduce the size of those smoothies from 16 ounce to 10.5 ounce. And then let's talk to our organic suppliers and tell them, hey, we're growing. We want to keep buying this organic stuff from you guys. Give us a better price. Give us a long-term price when we're doing more volume. Let's work together. And we worked with them, and they did, and it worked. And this is a funny shot of us, like all of a sudden we're in mass market grocery stores next to, Palm and Naked and all of the big brands in the U.S. that are owned by Coke and Pepsi, and pretty excited about that. So things were going well, and one thing I want to tell you guys about is a lot of people say, what was that one thing that pushed you guys over the tipping point? What was the thing, the one thing? They always want to know the one thing. And And I like to say, there's actually not one thing ever. There's thousands of things that you have to do. You never know. You will find a one thing, but it's going to take you doing thousands of things to find that one thing. And for us, it was back in the year 2000, one of our partners, Ed, his parents gave him a book. And the book was called Tales from the Medicine Trail, by this guy on the screen next to my brother. His name's Chris Killam. He's an anthrobotanist at Amherst. And Chris had gone and lived with tribes in the Amazon and talked about eating acai and how good it was. And so we got all excited. This was right when we were starting. No one in America knew anything about what acai was, and this guy's writing about it. So we called him up and said, Chris, we're talking about acai. We're starting to import it. Let's be friends. Let's talk. How can we help each other? And he said, cool, love it. Maybe I can go to the Amazon with you guys one day. So finally, we got some money together. We took him to the Amazon, and he helped us make some cool videos about our supply chain down there. And that was that. We stayed friends with him. But in 2005, turns out Chris happened to be good friends with a guy named Nicholas Perricone. Nicholas Perricone, who some of you may know, is a best-selling author. He was writing a book called The Perricone Promise, talking about things, superfoods of the world. And Chris mentioned to him about acai and how he thought it was the next big thing. Dr. Perricone ends up putting it in his book as one of the top superfoods in the world. He ends up on Oprah talking about acai. Next thing we know, we've got little old ladies from Ohio calling us saying, how do I get my hands on your acai? Things blew up from there. We got a call from People magazine a few weeks later. They wanted to do a full story. After that, hit the newsstands. Our sales doubled overnight and never really looked back from there. So here we are, 2012, I guess. This is a shot of Ed, who you remember was the clean-shaven young man. This is what 12 years of being an entrepreneur does to you. This is actually in our own acai cafe, which was one of the original dreams, to build a cafe where we could serve up a bowl of acai. And that's the acai that we serve in our cafe. It's thick and topped with all kinds of superfoods. You see coconut and blueberries. We're really excited to be able to share that original experience today. We have a couple of those cafes now, but those juices are sold across the US and in Asia in probably over 20,000 locations. So what I want to leave you guys with today is the concept of this triple bottom line and this idea that there are renewable resources in the rainforests that are waiting to be discovered and marketed and help, like I said, make the rainforest too valuable to cut down. Today, the guys that are harvesting the acai make close to $1.50 a tree compared to the 25 cents a tree that they were making just 10, 15 years ago. And the demand for acai has increased over 10 times in the last 15 years. They actually say it's one of the fastest growing price increases for a commodity that exists. I want to also tell you that we're not alone. There is a lot of companies that are following this idea of the triple bottom line. Being in the natural food space, I've gotten to know a lot of the entrepreneurs that are doing something similar. There's Guayaquil, who makes yerba mate from South America. Harmless Harvest, who you heard from yesterday, changing the paradigm with coconut water. And another company that is in Canada called Manitoba Harvest, working with hemp. Recently, I was in the desert in North Nevada at a festival called Burning Man, which some of you may have heard of. It's a cool gathering. And one of our investors and advisors is the chairman of the board for Whole Foods, and he was there with us, enjoying it. And we were talking about this concept and what was going on, and basically he came back and said, you know what? Almost all the new small companies that are coming to us now are following this paradigm, and as a corporation, Whole Foods, that's the kind of companies we want to work with, companies that have that kind of ethos. So it's really exciting. This is actually happening, where 10, 15 years ago it was just an idea. This is actually starting to happen, and your president yesterday talked about inspiring the youth and giving the youth an opportunity. And hopefully ideas like this, success stories of companies like this, where you've got some guys that had no idea what they were doing, no experience, but just put our heads down and made it happen, will inspire you to go out and find possibly your acai or your coconut water or whatever it is that you can use to change the world. Thank you very much.